I'm going to give you this 2-year update on what it's been like juggling, having a child, running 2 businesses, being a freelancer in the UK. It's my experience, really. We're 2 years and 2 months in, so that's nice, like double two. Sarah on Instagram was asking me, I'm so curious how you manage scribe life while parenting. Do you have hired help or family that support you? Or just you and your partner tag teaming? I hope that's okay to ask. I'm just wondering if I could do it because I don't have family nearby. So this is a really good question. As a freelancer, it can be really scary. It's a lot of the unknown, and financially as a freelancer, things aren't, like if you've got a 9 to 5 or any kind of salary, pretty confidently that you're going to get that salary every month. But when you're a freelancer or you're running a business, it's a mystery. Maybe the first thing is my attitude when I was pregnant was like, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to have a baby and then get childcare. Why is everybody making such a big deal about it? Then I had the child and immediately realised it's not that simple, because firstly, you don't want to leave your child with anybody at any point. And secondly, you feel kind of guilty. Like, the guilt is real. To start with, the guilt was excruciating. I will say it does get better, and you feel less bad about, having people look after your child while you work or while you do things that aren't work, which is a whole another chapter. I had in 2022, and I took all of July off. That's before she was born. So good. Really recommend that. Like, if you can, just don't work. And I just lay in bed and read books and ate lots of Baby Bells because I was obsessed with Baby Bell cheese. And then when she was born, I was like, oh, I'm going to take 3 months off. But I just didn't. I don't know. It wasn't even a conscious decision. I did my first live illustrating when she was 6 weeks old. And I remember it was very traumatic because she was crying and my husband was looking after her. She was fine. She was safe. He was looking after her in the next room, but I could hear her screaming and I was trying to draw. And there's something like when you hear your own baby crying, like your brain just goes offline. And I was like, I hope I'm drawing the right things. Obviously, it was a remote online event. But the client was happy. Everything was fine. The job went fine. The child survived. But yeah, very stressful and did not recommend. There was also a job where somebody on the team was doing it, but the client wasn't happy. So I just jumped in and redid it, but it was quite a big job. And then I had a couple of like non-live things. So yeah, I say I wasn't working, but I was totally still working. That's enough about my inability to not work. Really what we're talking about here is the childcare side of things. So for the first 2 months, I was pretty much off. And then from when she was 2 to 6 months old, I'm looking over here because I've got my notes, I would do like the odd 1 hour live job, like either my mother-in-law or somebody taking the pram for a walk, or my husband taking her, but it was just like tiny little bits of work. And that's the nice thing about events, is because they are like a short chunk of time, you can do that. I remember we did get a booking for an all-day event and I was like, I just can't do that right now. I just can't make that work. I couldn't figure out a way. Like, I was breastfeeding. So when she was 6 months old, I felt like she was sturdy enough to be with somebody else. And we had, like, one of my good friends had been using, had a babysitter and recommended her. And then I met this babysitter and I was like, yes, this person I trust. So it was kind of like a family friend. I live in a very small town where everybody knows each other, which helped. And Jemima would come around like a few hours a week, which was really good. So it meant that I could go to the studio, actually leave the house and work for like 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, and then come back. And that was really exciting because I felt like I could actually do some work again. By the time of her first birthday, we did nursery and it was a lot of like settling in. So she wasn't walking by 1, but she felt again like even sturdier, and I didn't feel too, obviously it didn't. I felt very guilty. I felt guilty about every single thing, but I felt less guilty about sending her to nursery. So at that point she went, and the settling in sessions, it's like half an hour here and then an hour and then see how she gets on. And they'd be like, oh, she was crying, but we gave her a biscuit and a cuddle and she was fine. And then eventually she was able to go for half day, so like 3 hours and then 4 hours. And so she's now over 2, and over time the time at nursery has been building up, and she now goes for 3 days. So I have at least 3 days of work per week, which is really nice. And in terms, I know in the question, do we have hired help or family? So yes, I did hire help to start with, and we also have family around because we're both from the town that we live in. So both of our parents are here and everything. My mother-in-law like takes us for sleepovers and stuff, and my sister is always like, anytime, let me help. So we're very, very lucky. And at the same time, I've been like stubbornly independent as well, and like I don't want to like kick the arse out of it and rely on anybody too much. So she is going to nursery for the time that I really need. And yeah, since she was really in the swing of nursery, probably like the start of this year, maybe the end of 2023, I've been able to work away, go to London, sleep over, but like Cameron can go to his job and then he can pick her up from nursery, and like she's totally fine. She loves it. She actually, if it's not a nursery day, she's a bit like, ugh, I'm stuck with you. Great. Which is good. I'm glad she's like that because they do fun stuff at nursery and I'm just like, let's draw again. So I think, yeah, if you're having a child and you're worried that your family aren't nearby, maybe the first thing to prepare yourself with is feeling guilty all the time and that it is expensive. Nursery does cost a chunk. Our nursery only takes cash, which is really annoying because the cash machine, like I never have cash. I have to go to the cash machine like a million times and then like arrange all these visits to the cash machine because the card has a limit, the machine has a limit. Anyways, that's my own personal rant. The other thing that I'd heard a lot about, but people tell you and you're like, oh yeah, that's funny, like illness. Oh my God. So she's had chicken pox. That was, I think, 2 weeks she was off, and it happened just before we were going on holiday for 2 weeks. So it was like basically, maybe she was off for a week and then we were on holiday for 2 weeks. So basically she was at a nursery for a week, but you still got to pay because obviously it's not the nursery's fault that your child's ill. And then she was sent home last week on the first day of being back at nursery with some digestive issues involving the rear end of the digestion. Trying not to be too vulgar here, but yeah, they were like, oh yeah, she can't come back for 48 hours because she's been pooping. And I was like, oh, that's fine, but that's the whole week. Like that's, if she's sent home on a Monday, she can't go back Tuesday, Wednesday, and then she's at home. So anyway, she got better from that and was back to nursery on Monday, and I picked her up yesterday and they were like, oh, she's got a little blister on her hand. It looks like it might be hand, foot and mouth. So it's like, really? But they've been reassured. They reassured me that for hand, foot and mouth, she can still go to nursery. For some reason, there's no like rules about it. But if she's well, like in herself, she can go to nursery. I'm waffling a lot. But yeah, long story short, having family around is so helpful and we're so lucky, we're like stupidly lucky. But the main reason I've been able to work is because of juggling with my husband and having paid childcare. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. It doesn't feel very helpful, but I feel like it's also things that people have already said a million times. It's nothing groundbreaking. Yeah, the other thing, so I talked about feeling guilty a lot. The things I feel nice about that I enjoy, I religiously take Fridays off now since she started nursery, and I love that. So on a Thursday morning, we hang out together, and then that's like the sort of tag team day. So I hang out with her in the morning, and then she goes off to visit great-grandparents with her dad in the afternoon. And then on a Friday, we're off, we could do anything, and it's a long weekend. So we love the Fridays off. And I will, like, people always say this, and it sounds so cliche, but it does get easier and easier and easier. And now she's talking, so she can tell me things and say what's going on. Yeah, I do feel guilty that I enjoy work, and I got this new watch, right? And it's a smartwatch, and it tells you when you're stressed. And it always tells me I'm stressed when I'm like doing them on, like getting her ready to go to nursery or like trying to get her to go to bed. So I was like, oh, thanks, watch. I feel really great about that. But basically, yeah, I think I'm just kind of used to feeling guilty all the time. This is part of it. Let me know how you're getting on if you're doing maternity leave. Like I say, I've said in the other videos, I'll link them so you can watch the 1 month and the 1 year update. I was really interested to see just what other people were doing and hear about their stories and how they were getting on. I'll see you soon.